Hi everyone, it's Rose and welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I'm going to be running a little bit of an experiment. This is a spoiler-free reading vlog, as all my reading vlogs on my channel are, and today we are going to be reading the lowest rated books on my physical TBR according to Goodreads. So what I've done is I've got a list on Goodreads of all the books I own but have not read, and I've sorted them by average rating, and we're going to pick the ones that are, you know, they have the lowest average rating. We're going to read them spoiler free and see if we find maybe some hidden gems, or if I tend to agree with the masses. So having looked through this list after I've sorted it, I have noticed a lot of horror gets lower average ratings, and that makes a lot of sense to me. I feel like, especially if you're not an avid horror reader, picking up a horror book you're probably expecting to get scared, but because horror is a feeling and it's so subjective, if you're then not scared, you may be disappointed or find it lacking in some way. But I tend to like all aspects of horror, so I think especially the horror on this list has a good chance of getting a higher rating from me, and I can absolutely understand why it would get lower ratings from others. But who knows, these might get lower ratings for completely different reasons. There might be some sort of like something problematic happening, or a really lackluster ending or something like that. It may have nothing to do with what I'm thinking right now, and that is kind of what this experiment is about, kind of, because we're going to see if I think it's valid, like if I personally agree with the lower rating, or if I find a hidden gem and I'm like, I unpopular opinion, love this book. I guess without further ado, we should talk about the first book I'm going to be reading in this vlog. This is Diary by Chuck Palahniuk, and this has 80,000 ratings, but an average of only 3.65 stars. Before going into this book, this is why I think it might have been rated lower. It is horror, so what I said about horror being very subjective and being a feeling makes sense, but also this is the author of Fight Club. Now, I've never heard this author's name before. I've heard the name Fight Club before. I feel like everybody has, so I think a lot of people that maybe don't read a lot of horror, or maybe don't even read a lot of books, will have picked up this book because they know about Fight Club, and then it's nothing like Fight Club. I don't know. This is my thoughts pre-reading it, but I can see definitely how this has got 80,000 ratings and a low average rating, because I think a lot of people will see the name Fight Club and pick this up. From these different quotes on the back, I'm seeing shocks, twists, terrifying horror. It sounds like something right up my street, and I'm really excited to see if I find a hidden gem. It says that Diary takes a form of a coma diary, and it's about a wife whose husband attempted suicide, and I'm assuming is now in a coma, and she's kind of writing her thoughts and feelings about it in this diary. But she's also finding out, this is the bit that sold me, by the way. It says, Peter, it turns out, has been hiding rooms in houses he's refurbished and scrawling vile messages all over the walls. The homeowners are suing, and Mitzi starts drawing again because she's an artist. The paintings are taken away by her mother-in-law and her doctor, who seem to have a plan for Misty and for all those annoying tourists. I really hope that we get a lot of info about these like mysterious, like, he's building houses and renovating houses for people and hiding away secret rooms and writing messages. I really hope we dive into that, and I'm assuming we're gonna kind of find out as the main character does, because this is told from the woman's point of view, but it's also written like diary entries, and she's kind of talking to her husband. I think in like the first page when I flicked through, it kind of says like, if you're reading this, like, you made it out the coma kind of thing. So maybe it's kind of written for her husband? I don't know, but I guess I'm gonna find out. I am gonna get reading, and we will find out together if I end up liking this, if I think it is underrated, or if I agree with those 80,000 people and I agree it gets a low average rating. So I have read the first 50 pages of Diary, and I'm getting more of an understanding of what this is about now. So we have a past and present timeline in this book. It is a series of diary entries, and it's kind of written as like her diary to her husband, and we've got the present tense where he is currently in a coma after trying to commit suicide, and she's finding out all these things, and like she's having people coming to the house and stuff, or like calling her up and complaining that like they found all these things her husband has written in the walls and they want to sue, and they're like, why can't he come to me himself? Why is he making his wife do it? And she's like, he's in a coma. And then we've also got the past perspective, because she's kind of going back in time to how they met and retelling him, and every so often she's like, if you remember this bit when you're reading this, just feel free to skim, but this is how we met in case you've forgotten, kind of thing. It's interesting to see because in the present tense, she's obviously growing resentment towards him for reasons we don't know yet, but we're gonna slowly find out, I assume. But she's writing the story of how they met when she was falling in love with him, and it's really interesting to see how she tries to word it, knowing that she doesn't like him, but she's trying to convey the feeling she felt when she did, if that makes sense. I will say she is an artist, and so was he. Like, when they met, they both were at art school, I think. They talk about art a lot, and a lot of different artists, and a lot of different like ways to paint and ways to create, and that's boring me. So I hope that kind of stops as we get past that part of her life, because she hasn't painted for years in the present timeline. And if it does continue, I will say I can see why that would be a drawback and why someone would rate it lower, because I think it will affect my rating, because I'm not really interested in different types of art and stuff like that, and it's getting quite boring. I was listening to the audio of it and I found myself like, please just, I would probably skim read this paragraph like if I was reading it physically, because I don't care about a bunch of names and dates of different artists. Like, that's just not interesting to me, and it's not relevant to the plot at all. It's just conversations they're having. But I'm intrigued to find out like what's going on in their marriage, like just before the events that led up to him taking his life, because, well, he didn't take it successfully, the suicide attempt, because you can feel the sense of resentment, and she's also finding things out, so I'm excited to find out more things with her. But I am bored of the art talk, so let's dumb that down, please. I don't need to know any more about that. Okay, I am like 2/3 into this book now, and I am really bored. It feels like so much of it is just talking about art history. There's so many names and dates and places, and like none of it is relevant to the story. It's just the fact that they both like art, so they talk about art. It's not like these people are actually in the book. It's like history, and they just, like, their whole relationship from the beginning was formed on art, so every time we go back in the past, we're just talking about art. In the present, we're learning about some weird stuff that happened in the past that she's now realising in the present, and there's some weird stuff going on in the present, but overall I am just really bored. I feel like this is going to be like a 2-star for me, which I went into this really like excited and hoping that I would like it a lot more than the average rating, but I would have to say I agree with it so far. I'm gonna go ahead and try and finish it tonight, because honestly I want something to happen, or I just want the book to be done so that I can move on and find a better book, because I'm not enjoying this one. So I finished Diary. I finished it a couple days ago actually, and I did rate this 2 stars. This half of it, I would have just been better off picking up an art history textbook. It was so many dates and names and useless information to me. It added nothing to the plot, because it's not like those people were irrelevant. They were just talking about art. You could just summarise that and say we talked about art. We don't need to hear it. I was so bored. I did like kind of the ending, but then it also took a weird twist, and it was just very lackluster to me, honestly. I would say I agree with the fact that this was one of the lowest rated books on my TBR. I'm sure it's for some people, but it was not for me, and it seems like it wasn't for a lot of other people either. So book 1 in this video, I agree with the rating. I'm honestly like a bit worried I'm gonna end up putting myself in a slump if I read another low book, because I'm worried it's also going to be a low rating. So I'm going to take a break from this video for a little bit, and I will be back with you when I've read maybe something else in between, and we will start the second book. Do I have an update for you? So I was about to come on here to tell you I've just started reading Girls on Fire by Robin Wasserman, which is the lowest rated book on my physical TBR. However, I read the first paragraph. I repeat, it took 1 paragraph for me to DNF this book. It makes complete sense why it is the lowest rated book on my TBR, and we're going to talk about it. So this book has an average rating of 3.35 stars. It's got 12,164 ratings. It's very important to note that this book is written by a man when I read you the first paragraph, because one thing I hate is when men write about teenage girls badly, or if they over-sexualize them. That is something I absolutely hate, and something that happens all the time, especially in this like thriller and horror space. So I'm going to read you the first paragraph of Girls on Fire. See them in their golden hour, a flood of girls high on the ecstasy of the final bell, tumbling onto the city bus, all gawky limbs and wonder-bar cleavage, chewed nails picking at eruptive zits, lips nibbling and eyes scrunching in a doomed attempt not to cry. Girls with plaid skirts tugged unfathomably high above the knee, girls seizing the motion of the bus to throw themselves bodily into the objects of affection. Oops, sorry guy, didn't mean to shove my boob in your face. Was that a phone in your pocket, or are you just happy to see me? I knew right then I didn't want to read this book, and it makes sense why it's the lowest rated book on my physical TBR. This book is literally about teenage girls. There's 3 teenage girls, those are the 3 main characters. If that is how they're speaking about teenage girls in the first paragraph, no way do I want to sit through over 300 pages of that. So the second book I was supposed to read in this video is a DNF, and now again I'm just more concerned about picking up another lowly rated book because I feel myself slipping into a slump because I just keep getting disappointed. I might take a little break from this video and try and read something I know I'll like, and then we'll come back to it because I don't want to get in a reading slump because I'm rating bad books. I guess I'll see you when I'm in the mood to read something bad again. So I know I said it was going to be a little while and I wanted to read some books in between. It is actually the same day I'm filming this clip as I was the last clip, but I realised there was a book that was rated really lowly that I actually really want to read and think I will love. I think, and this is just based on knowing nothing about the book and having not read it, it is a sapphic romance between 2 lesbians, I'm pretty sure. And I'm thinking my mind is going straight to it's got a low rating because of homophobia. But obviously I know nothing and I may be really wrong. So we're going to find the actual rating of this book quickly. This is Cleat Cute by Meryl Wilsner. It has 33,916 ratings and it's got an average of 3.73. I read Mistakes Were Made by her and it was so entertaining and so enjoyable, so I'm super excited to see this. This is about 2 football players and they're like rivals, and then they start to form a friendship and there's a miscommunication and like they hate each other but they both have the wrong idea about what happened. It sounds really interesting. I love anything sapphic, so I really do think I will enjoy this one. Okay, and we've got a character with ADHD as well, so that is good representation. I guess I'm going to start reading this and I will see how I feel about it. And also, if there are other points to it that people don't like, that's all completely valid. It's just my mind went straight to seeing a book that is very clearly a romance between 2 women and it having a low rating. I have a feeling some of the low ratings might be homophobia, but it could also be really badly written. Like, we have no clue. These are just my thoughts, not actually knowing anything. Like, I'm not saying that if a book that's queer has a low rating, it has to be because of homophobia. Like, there's probably so many other valid points as to why it has a lower rating, but I am interested to see how I feel about this. What brought Mistakes Were Made down a rating for me was that the characters were acting pretty immaturely for their ages, but these ones are both in their early 20s, I believe, so like if that happens it will be much more understandable than like in Mistakes Were Made the woman was in her 40s, one of them I think. So if the characters act immaturely, it's much more excusable in this one. I'm gonna go ahead and get started. I think I'm gonna listen to the audiobook and we will see what I think. So I am 100 pages into Cleat Cute and I am really enjoying this book so far. There's all sorts of representation in this. We've got bisexuals, lesbians, gay people, non-binary people, aro-ace people. It's such good LGBTQ plus representation, and I also really like both of our main characters. I'm pretty sure that Phoebe Matthews, yes, I think that she has ADHD. It hasn't been explicitly said yet, but I did see in some of the reviews that it was it did have ADHD representation, and she does have a lot of traits that I've picked up on so far, so I'm pretty sure it's her that has it. So that is even more representation in this book. Having a really good time. I'm reading it very quickly, and the audiobook is good too. So all in all, I have no complaints so far, so I'm really confused as to why it has a low rating, but I'm going to continue and we will see if I pick up on anything. So I just finished Cleat Cute by Meryl Wilsner, and I'm going to rate this a 3.5 stars. There was so much I liked about it. There was so many different types of representation. There was a lot of cute banter. There was sapphic romance, which of course I love. I will say the reason we've got the rating of a 3.5 star is because I do feel like this was a bit too long. I mean, obviously it's just over 300 pages, but in terms of the back and forth of things going on, I feel like it got a bit repetitive and I was just waiting for them to figure it out. If you know, you know. I really liked the representation of ADHD in this, and then it was even autism that was mentioned as like a possibility. And it all kind of made sense when that was brought up. I was like, oh wait, yeah, I really like this. I really would recommend, and it was a fun read. And that's where we're going to leave today's video. I planned on reading 3 of the lowest rated books off my physical TBR. Technically we only read 2 because, yeah, that middle one we're not going to talk about. We had a 2-star and a DNF, but we did also get a 3.5 star. So overall, I think I do agree with the lower ratings, but there was a hidden gem. And that's all from me today. If you'd like to see more, please be sure to like or subscribe as I post new videos every single week. I hope you have a lovely day, and I will see you in another video. Bye!